time ago, my 2-year-old son was sitting in our garden, saw a blackbird and said, "Come on, bird, fly, it has turned green." In the first moment, I thought this is really funny. And in the second, I was a little bit shocked how much these artificial laws apply already to children's mind and thus are thus transferred to natural observations. As the topic of this event suggests, insanity dominates our daily routine. I just took a few photographs from our home place that demonstrate how many changes we just have made within one generation. These are all products that you might not have known when you were a child, starting with a mobile phone, not only for talking, but also for paying a parking ticket or a subway. This iRobot vacuum cleaner, this is my newest invention. Quite practical, it works on its own. Coffee machine, completely artificial. We just have these capsules, no idea where coffee comes from, no idea that has to do with beans or even a plant. And probably the biggest change is actually that the workplace is the computer today. And the interesting thing is if you observe children when they play, they choose laptops out of other toys because basically they want to imitate adult behavior, and I just give you a short demonstration of that. So he has a choice between the sheep and the laptop, and what is he doing? Okay. Okay. Good. Well, on a societal level, psychology, of course, deals with the topic of technological growth. There's a field called cyberpsychology. And topics in cyberpsychology are, for example, internet addiction. I just read the term discombobulation, which describes a state of extreme stress and anxiety when not being connected with your computer. Does anyone feel this? Yes? A second important field is artificial intelligence. The question whether it's ever possible to replace a human being by a robot in terms of intuition and feelings. It's always a big discussion I have with my students. And also interesting topic are dating agencies. Almost every fifth Austrian has found his partner or her partner online. And the positive or negative consequences this might have is also an interesting topic for psychologists. As I am a social, or rather actually an economic psychologist, what immediately came to my mind when I was asked to give a talk on this topic is the connection between happiness and technology. As was mentioned before, there are hundreds of studies dealing with this topic in economy and also in psychology. And basically what they all show is while there is a tremendous growth of technology and economy, there is mainly a stagnation in happiness. Of course, there can be a long discussion how happiness has to be measured, but just in principle, it is we are growing on the technological side, but we are not growing in happiness. So then the very immediate question that comes into play is, what then makes people happy? If I now ask you, what makes you happy? Just tell me. What makes you happy? TEDx, thank you. My talk, fortunately. Holidays, wife, what else? Music. Fulfilling work, kids, love, studying. No one mentions technology here. No one mentions that the computer or my mobile phone makes me happy. And this is in line with also another hundreds of studies that are conducted. people basically mention things like health, kids, being related, being connected to others, but they never mention technology. They rarely mention their job, even though, of course, job satisfaction is probably or needs to be there in order to express feelings of happiness, but still it is lacking. Among all these studies, social psychologists basically identified 4 major components that contribute to happiness. The first component is autonomy. If I feel independent, autonomous, then this contributes to my personal happiness or personal well-being. The second component is competence. If I feel that I'm an expert in a certain field, this contributes to my happiness. The third component is relatedness with others, with family and friends. And the fourth component is self-esteem, high self-esteem, which may be connected with the other 3 components. So let's now check whether the biggest technological change or biggest development, information technology, makes us happy in terms of these 4 major components. Autonomy. Of course, it is able to provide autonomy. We can work from home, we are independent, so if we use the technology right, we might feel quite autonomous, but there is the other shady side of autonomy, which is addiction. You have to be always online, and addiction is completely the opposite of autonomy, and this might make us really unhappy, really upset. If we look at the second, the competence, of course, we might feel really competent. We can make all the things from home. We don't have to go to the bank. We feel like experts from our home desk. But what's the opposite of this competence? You all might have experienced that. This is complete helplessness. Once we experience a computer crash, we simulate it in the lab and could produce the psychological feeling of helplessness to an enormous way. So we are completely delivered to a functioning system. And if our system does not work, then we feel helpless, which is a horrible state for people. Looking at the third component, relatedness with others, of course, we can be in contact with everyone. We can meet our old school friends via Facebook and whatsoever. But the shady side, again, is loneliness. We are probably too much exposed to an artificial world, and we don't have the time to meet the friends in person when we spend too much time in these online rooms. And the last one, high self-esteem, might be boosted when we are getting many, many emails, for example, or when we really feel competent and all these other components are fulfilled. But the other side of the coin may be low self-esteem if we receive, for example, negative feedback, internet bullying, or if you are voted for the worst professor in life on My Professor, something. This may also be the other side, and lower your self-esteem. Again, the question, does technology in general make us happy concerning our long-term view? And I just inserted a picture from the famous novel by Friedrich Dürrenmatt, The Physicist. This describes how a genius physicist discovers the world formula, and he's so afraid that it gets into the wrong hands that the only chance he sees is escaping into the madhouse and hide the formula there, because he thinks basically the human being has invented the nuclear separation, but mankind has not reached that far. What has once thought cannot be unthought. So the question is, if we have our new technology, are we prepared for that? Isn't there the big danger that it gets into the wrong hands, like children playing bad computer games and become amok runners in the worst case? So be careful. We need to pay attention that people are well educated for the technology that is imposed on them. And the second component, which was mentioned before and is for me personally really relevant, is time. Does technology provide more free time? And here's a picture from the movie from Momo, from Michael Ende, this fantasy novel in the 80s, where this little girl fights against these great gentlemen who base all their existence on stolen time. put the time on a bank account and convince the people to do everything faster to save more time. And what comes out at the end is that the time simply vanishes and disappears, but everything has just gotten faster. So the question is now, and coming back to my new vacuum cleaner, what we should do when we get new technology would be, now I have this vacuum cleaner and I sit down and relax. I have 2 hours more free time. But I actually don't have that. I'm still filling this time with all kinds of other new technological or other inventions, and basically it doesn't give me an advantage. So we need to be careful. Yes, technology is good if it provides more free time to us. So I'm already coming to my last slide. Well, why is there a goulash soup on the picture? Just another association. We need to be careful whether technology is not stealing things from us that we actually like, whether it's not lowering our happiness. My husband, for example, loves to cook. He's completely passionate, and he would be absolutely upset if I would give him a microwave and if he would have to spend time with a microwave or lose time for cooking. So again, to summarize, happiness by technology can make us happy if we focus on the positive aspects, if it gives us more autonomy, more competence, more relatedness with others, and more self-esteem. It can make us happy, or the whole population happy, if we can guarantee a certain level of education and a proper use. And what is this? You remember that? A Tamagotchi. We, of course, have always considered the necessity of technology. Is it really important to feed a chicken on this Tamagotchi thing, or can we spend our time elsewhere? So necessity is important. And finally, what I already mentioned is the very important component of free time. So we should think always not only what makes our life easier, but what makes our life happier. Thank you very much.